So guys, I figured we'd do a little bit of a like case study here. So my friend has a 2011 Chevy Traverse, and he kept saying about this like extended crank time. And every time he brought it into my shop, I'd say, hey, this thing kind of like takes a while to start. Like it'd be like a 2-second start or so, and like halfway through the crank, the car was like low, like it was gonna die. It was really weird. And now it's been a few months, and then the engine had seized. So we put a new engine in like 2 weeks ago, and it still had like the same cranking, and this motor had 30,000 miles on it. The original one had like 120 on. So I did a current ramp on the starter, and I have a picture up of what it looked like before. I'll show two of them because I did two different ones. Each picture is a different time we cranked the motor, and you can see on this first one there is a lot of noise on it. I think the starter was like the brushes or something must have been dropping out. I don't really know what they look like when the brushes drop out, because usually when people come in with starter issues, there's like they don't even crank. They're usually completely dead. So I never get to really current ramp them. But you can see in the beginning of the waveform that it took what, 700 amps or so is what it drew. Like my amp clamp, every 100 millivolts is 100 amps, so it's like 700. Then it drops down to like 300, and then there's another high peak of like 550. And then you'll see each crank, or each time a cylinder came up, it was like 350 amps. And I put the cursors on there so we can measure the time, and I don't know if you guys can read it or not, but it was 1.4 seconds the first time we did it. And then the second time we did it, I think we pulled like 650 amps, and then it went up to 550 again, and then each peak was around 350 amps, and then that one lasted, I think it was like 1.2 seconds. So we put a new starter on, and now you can see a completely different waveform. When we crank it, this starter will draw 900 amps, and then it drops down to around 200 amps, and then it goes up to, I don't know, it's like 350 or so for the second peak, and then it comes down to around 200 amps during normal cranking, which is a lot lower than before, and it starts a lot quicker. Like the start time, because this car auto cranks till it starts, it was 853 milliseconds, so 0.8 seconds. And then the second time we did it, let's see, second time we did it, it pulled 750 amps, and it leveled off around like 200 amps cranking, and that one lasted 0.78 seconds. So there's a huge difference here in the amount of time this car would take to start, just by changing the starter. That was the only thing that was changed. So we're talking almost half the time to start, and a huge drop in current. I think this was either pulling too much current and dropping the battery voltage down. I didn't measure the battery voltage. Or it was just cranking so slow that the car like didn't think it was starting, or maybe it was cranking too slow to start. But I thought this was an interesting case study where you can actually see the difference. And this other starter was a reman. The other one was the factory original one. Hope you guys like this. If you want, comment. Glad to answer any questions. Whenever you're ready. Oh, that worked out great. That worked out great. You can shut it off. Let's see what we had. Oh, we went up to like 500 amps. Every 100 millivolts is an amp. See that? Mm-hmm. We shouldn't have went up that high. Like this should be around like 100 amps.
Yeah.
Whenever you're ready. I got it. So guys, this is with the new starter. I'll go back and show you guys what it is with the old one. And there's no more delayed crank, delayed start with this new one.